Welcome to Once a Bruin, Always a Bruin, Connecting Beyond Campus. My name is Amanda Raymond, and I have the privilege of serving as an Associate Director of Alumni Career Engagement for the UCLA Alumni Association. I want to congratulate each of you on your graduation from UCLA. It is a phenomenal achievement to be where you are right now. Today, we will share with you how the Bruin family supports new graduates and the opportunities that are available to you as an alumni. As a UCLA alumnus, you won't be going at it alone. From mentors to career guides to potential hiring managers and teammates, a Bruin can be by your side throughout your life. And so today, we want to take the time to highlight the resources and communities that are in place to support and cheer you on as you start your next big adventure. Before we get started, I want to provide a quick overview of our session. We will be hearing from 3 alumni speakers who will each present for about 10 minutes. Once all the presentations are finished, we will open it for Q&A. So to submit your questions, please use the Q&A feature, not the chat feature. So with that all being said, let's jump in with our first presenter. I would like to welcome to our screen Assistant Director of Alumni Career Engagement, Vivian San Gabriel. She is our UCLA guru, our UCLA One guru, and she is here to share with us how to best utilize this powerful resource. Hi.
Hi, thanks so much for that introduction.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks so much for being here and can't wait to learn more about UCLA One. So I'll hand it on over to you.
Yeah, of course. So hi, thanks again for joining us for Once a Bruin, Always a Bruin. And as Amanda mentioned, I'll be covering how to use UCLA One. And you can use this to grow and take full advantage of your Bruin network. So a little overview of UCLA One. It's a valuable tool for your professional development as a Bruin. There are thousands of UCLA alumni on the platform that are willing to help by way of mock interviews, resume review, job shadowing, and mentorship. And today I'll be showing you how to find and reach out to these alumni. So first, I'm going to share my screen now. All right, so first, we're going to log into UCLA One. And just as a quick note, we're going to be revamping the sign-on process to further protect our users' information in the coming weeks. So be on the lookout for that update. But so let me go ahead and sign in. Okay. So when you log in, you're going to start here on the main feed. And whenever you make your UCLA One account, I really encourage you to make a post to introduce yourself and put yourself out there. And so you can scroll through this feed for a while to discover job opportunities, events, and any other kind of update. The UCLA One feed includes every single public post by everyone on the platform. And if you're part of any groups, you'll see those posts here as well. On the left side of the screen, we have all of these different destinations within UCLA One. The first is the feed, which is where we're at currently. And then next we have our directory, the UCLA Alumni Mentor Program, our jobs board, groups, events, businesses and services, and finally resources. Okay, and on the right side, we have some useful widgets to help you navigate the platform as well. We have some recent job postings right here with a link to the full job board as well. We have our newest members, and I also encourage you to maybe send them a message when you get on there and welcome them to the platform if you already have an account. And we also have some other widgets down here like Spotlight a Bruin, businesses and services, and our social media. And I encourage you to kind of explore all of that as well. Okay. So at the very top right of the screen, you can access your profile. And this is where people are going to start getting to know you. So I really encourage anyone using the platform to get as detailed as you're comfortable with. The summary is probably where you're going to kind of personalize the most. And for the summary, I recommend including your education. So that would be your grad year and your major, your current position if you have one, and also some personal info just to kind of break the ice a little bit and kind of add some personality to your profile. And if you scroll down even more, you can add more details about your education, your industry, job function. There's some open questions that alumni can answer, or I think anyone can answer that actually. And we also have experience here, so people can see your past professional experience as well. And once you have your profile fully edited, you can also add your social media as well. And you can scroll down. Sorry, let me just turn this on. So if you scroll down all the way to this menu that's about to pop up, you can see that you can also check off the boxes for things that you would like to seek help in. And if you're like when you're eventually an alumni, you can also offer help in these areas as well. But this seek help option here is there so that proactive alumni can search for people who are looking for specific things and offer their time to those people. So for example, if I am like a current student and I'm looking for someone to help me with my resume, I can just click this on. And now I'm searchable by this particular filter. So if there are alumni who maybe have some free time and they want to give back to the community by reviewing people's cover letter or resume, they can go into the directory and search for people who have this checked on. And so if you are looking for help in those areas, definitely let people know so that they can find you and help you out. So let's get started with kind of exploring the platform a little bit more. And we can start with an example. So for example, if I'm currently a senior and I'm looking to start a career in, say, finance, how do I find the right people to give me advice? We can start looking for help in the directory right here. I'm just going to discard that. Okay, so let's let that list load up. All right, so now you can see a full list of pretty much everyone on the platform. And it's a lot of people, and you can see some of them are labeled with willing to help. Now, these are the people that you'll be able to reach out to, or these are the people that you should want to reach out to because they're willing to help you. And as you can see, it's already kind of a lot of work to scroll through all these people and look at their info. And you might have a hard time kind of narrowing it down just by doing it like this. So we can use all these filters on the platform to kind of narrow down your list and make it a little bit more refined. Okay. So on the right side of the screen, you'll see all these filters. And you can start by clicking on affiliation and then clicking on alumni so that you can look for alumni on this platform. Okay. And so once you have that checked, next you want to go to get involved right here and click that drop-down menu. And now you can see offering help and seeking help. The seeking help one is, like I mentioned, for proactive alumni who want to offer their time to people. So you would want to look for offering help. And so say, for example, I have an interview coming up and I want to practice with someone. I can scroll down and check facilitate a mock interview. And there we go. Now the list is narrowed down to all the alumni who are willing to help me with a mock interview. Okay. But what if I want help specifically with finance interviews? Maybe I want to brush up on technical questions and I can't do that with just anyone. So now I want to go into work experience. And now you can see that you can filter by all these things. We have company, industry, and job function. So to look for people to help me with finance, I can go into job function and then start typing in finance and then check that. And maybe I want to narrow it down even more. I can go into industry and look for example, investment banking. Okay, and so now I have an even more narrowed down list. These are all the people who are willing to help me with a mock interview in finance and investment banking. And we can see here, we also have our alumni guest, Brian, right here as well. And you can also search for plenty of other things too. We have tons of different criteria, like you can look for people in the Alumni Mentor Program. You can search for people by their major, their degree, their graduation year. And I really encourage you to kind of explore this on your own and figure out what works best for you. Okay, so back to this list here. I'm looking for someone who can help me with a mock interview. So let's pick on Brian for a second. Okay, when I go into his profile, I can see all the different things that he's willing to help me with. And I can also get a feel for what he does by looking at his profile kind of more in depth. I can see where he works, what his current affiliation is, and I can also see his summary. So kind of back to the previous topic of editing your profile, this is why you would want to edit your profile and make it as detailed as you want, because this is where people are going to get to know you and kind of get an idea of your experience and what they can talk to you about. So I'm looking for someone to help me with a mock interview, and I think that Brian might actually be a really good fit. So I want to request his help. And the way I do that is I go to the top right over here and I click request help. And don't worry too much if you don't know exactly what to say to request help. We've created message templates for every request to make it easy for you to connect with others. So if I click on this help type menu and I click facilitate a mock interview, the text box automatically populates with a message template that I can easily edit. And I definitely suggest editing this to make it a little bit more specific and personal. So for example, I can go in here and say upcoming investment banking interview, just so that he has a better idea of what we're getting into here. And once I'm happy with that message, I can go ahead and click send. And if he replies to me, then I'll get an email notification. So what else can I do on UCLA One? I briefly alluded to the jobs board, so let's go over there and start exploring that. Similar to the directory, I have a ton of filter options to help me find the right jobs to apply to. I can look for specific titles, employment types, job functions, industries, and locations. Okay, so let's say I want to look for an internship. I can go into employment type over here and then just check internship. And so now I have all of the active internship postings on the platform. Okay, so this internship at Visio looks pretty interesting. So let's take a look at that. And here in the job posting page, we can see all of the details of the job description. We can see the function, their website, all of the details here. And we can also see who added the job and who works at this company. And so this is really useful because now you know exactly who to reach out to learn more about the position, to see if you would be a good fit, and maybe even get some pointers from them. This is all kind of to say that UCLA One is just a really good platform for not only networking, but also finding jobs and just being a part of your community. As you can see, there are tons and tons of Bruins out there who are willing to help you, and all you really have to do is just go in and look for them. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to Amanda. Thank you so much for having me and giving me the opportunity to present. And of course, if anyone has any questions about this, please feel free to reach out to me on that.
Great, thank you so much. That was really helpful. And there are so many different ways to connect with the Bruin community. And I love how user-friendly it is and the templates. I love that. So thank you so much, Vivian. Now I'd like to welcome to our screens, Corey Rosa. He is the Associate Director of UCLA Alumni Diversity Programs and Initiatives, and he's going to talk to us today about the different networks that you can get connected with and different events that are held for alumni. So over to you, Corey.
Thanks, Amanda. And like Amanda said, I'm going to talk a little bit about another great way to connect with UCLA and other alumni after graduation, and that is our alumni networks. So starting off, we have diversity programs and initiatives, which organizes signature events designed to support, engage, and connect Bruins with each other and UCLA. And in addition, we also support various alumni diversity networks whose missions and visions empower the students, alumni, staff, and faculty of UCLA on campus and beyond. Diversity programs and initiatives, which I will also link in the chat, is home to 11 diversity networks, and our active networks include Academic Advancement Program alumni, American Indian alumni of UCLA, Asian Pacific alumni of UCLA, UCLA Black Alumni Association, UCLA Lambda LGBTQ+ Alumni Association, UCLA Latino Alumni Association, UCLA Mixed Alumni Association for multiracial, multi-ethnic individuals, UCLA Muslim Alumni Association, UCLA Pacific Islander Alumni Association, UCLA Filipino Alumni Association, and our Undocumented Alumni Association of UCLA. Diversity networks create community around shared identity and experiences, and they host events and programs with an eye for social justice and building community. And similar to our diversity networks, UCLA Alumni is also home to affinity networks. Some of those networks include our First Generation Alumni Network, Transfer Student Alumni Network, and UCLA Alumni Veterans Network. Affinity networks help connect alumni to programs that Bruins were a part of on campus, including organizations like the Daily Bruin and UCLA Unicamp. Whether you're moving out of LA after graduation or traveling to a new place, you can also consider joining a regional network near you. Regional networks are a great way to meet Bruins and create your own UCLA community in cities, states, and countries across the world. UCLA Alumni Regional Networks include 23 networks in California, 21 outside of the state of California, and 14 international networks across the world. I'll also leave a link in the chat that will help you find the networks near you. All of our networks are available online to connect with. And one of the best ways and first steps to joining a network is reaching out. So you can attend an event or upcoming board meeting to get in contact with alumni network leaders in an area near you. And you can also attend events and view our event calendar online as well at alumni.ucla.edu/upcoming events. And feel free to contact me or any of our alumni staff if you're ever interested in joining or even starting up a new network. We're always looking to support our Bruins no matter where they come from or what identities they share. And with that, I will pass it back over to Amanda.
Great, thank you, Corey. And now I would like to welcome to our screens our alumni presenter, Brian Weiner. Brian is an Corporate Development and Strategy Associate at Zenga, where he is responsible for sourcing and evaluating mergers and acquisitions and investment opportunities, executing transactions, and supporting post-merger integration activities. Brian is an excellent networker, and he's here to share with us how to start developing and fostering relationships with your fellow alumni. So with that,
thanks for the intro, Amanda.
Thanks for being here, and I'll hand it off to you.
No, of course. Yeah, happy to be here, everyone. So Amanda did a great job introducing me, but I figure I'd also introduce with a little bit of my, I guess, wider career background. So much like all of you, was also a Bruin, went to UCLA and graduated in class of 2019. Prior to that, though, I actually went to community college, and I really did hit the ground running upon transferring, and I've gathered experience across corporate finance, management consulting, investment banking, and now where I'm hopefully staying for a while, corporate development. And one thing I really wanted to stress during this webinar is there was one common thread between all of those, and that's that I managed to get a lot of the positions and get to where I am today because of networking. Now, I really do want to demystify what a lot of undergrads think networking is, since I know when I was in your guys' shoes, it was pretty intimidating, to say the least. And I was pretty nervous speaking with all these professionals when in reality, I had no clue what I needed to ask, what they did in their day-to-day job, or what to do. But over time, I got better at it. And so I'm here to just help demystify it. So one thing I really want to stress, and if you walk away with only one thing from this webinar, it's that networking is really just connecting with professionals in an industry that you're interested in. And you should really only go in with the goal to learn. Too many undergrads go in with the sole intention of just getting a job, when in reality, people want to form genuine connections. No one likes it when these interactions just feel transactional. You really want to establish genuine human connections, since a lot of hiring decisions are made on trust at the end of the day. Now, from my experience, at least when I was in banking, especially, too many undergraduates would conduct the legwork to really get on the phone with me. They cold email me, they message me on LinkedIn, UCLA One, etc. And they say they want to work in investment banking. They want nothing more than this. And then when I'd ask them, okay, well, what is investment banking? Or any really second level questions that pried into a little bit more about the role or their interests, they'd freeze up. And this is really common. My peers in consulting and in other roles really face the same thing when they're being interacted with undergrads. So one thing I really want to stress is go in really seeking to learn, and don't pretend that you know more than you really do. These people work in these industries full time, and first and foremost, these calls should really be about information gathering for you. When I was a student, I heard a really good quote that really shaped how I networked with people going forward. And it was, if you ask for a job, you're only going to get advice. But if you ask for advice, you're going to get a job. And I couldn't have found that more true than I did when I started working in the professional world. So with all that high level stuff out of the way, and feel free to chime in with questions. I'll have the Q&A thing open. I'll go more into in the weeds on how to network. So first and foremost, you're going to want to figure out who you want to talk to. And that requires answering what is, for a lot of people, the $1 million question: what industry do you want to work in? So if you're fortunate enough to know what industry you want to work in, start there. And that should be really the universe that you're defining. You're going to want to reach out to professionals in that space. In my case, I knew for certain that I wanted investment banking, so my efforts were targeted towards people in that industry. But if you don't know what industry you want to work in, don't stress. Just be candid about that when you're contacting folks, and really display that you're there to learn about what the roles are like, and hopefully figure out what it is you want to end up doing. At the end of the day, people love talking about themselves and their life experiences. So I'm not sure they'll mind too much if you're candid about what it is you're looking for. Now, once you have this universe defined, it's really helpful to start filtering for the specific people that you're going to want to contact. In my case, I used Excel to track a lot of these things, but a notebook will work, or whatever method of note-taking you want to use. But you're going to want to find people that you have something in common with, since at the end of the day, people really want to help people whose journeys really mirror their own, or that they see a little bit of themselves in. So in my case, I was a transfer student, went from community college to UCLA, and I had a lot of success contacting other successful transfer students that I found across platforms like UCLA One or LinkedIn. And I really cannot stress how good of a platform UCLA One is for sourcing Bruin specifically. It does really remove that first filter for you when you're trying to find professionals working in an industry that you have something in common with. But there are other things you could look for that you have in common. In my case, I did being a transfer student. You could do the high level one of being a Bruin, but there's also other things, like if you were in the same university club, if you volunteered for the same extracurricular organizations, you have similar interests, etc. People will usually take that as an excuse to talk to them. So definitely get a little creative here. And yeah, but once you really define who you wanted, who it is you want to start contacting, you're going to have to do the legwork of actually contacting them. I found it pretty neat when Vivian showed those pre-made templates for UCLA One. I think that's pretty helpful, but I do want to stress her advice she gave, in that when you're actually contacting people via UCLA One, LinkedIn, or email, be sure to tailor your message. At the end of the day, no one wants to feel like that the message they got was just copy and pasted, which is something that I saw way too many times, and I still continue to see too many times when students reach out to me on LinkedIn or via email. Tailor it to the thing that you guys have in common or how you learned about them and what you're hoping to learn from a brief discussion with them. At the end of the day, you want to get them on the phone. I guess now that we're hearing more of a post-COVID environment, a coffee chat is acceptable as well, but whatever you guys are comfortable doing, at the end of the day, you would just want to engage in a conversation with these people and really learn what it is about their job. One other note that I want to stress here is that don't be afraid to be persistent. These are busy professionals you may be contacting, and if they're not responsive, don't despair. Try reaching them on another method or try contacting them again after enough time has passed. I know in my case, when I was in banking, working very long hours, I didn't have the time to always respond to students when they reached out to me, but as soon as they got back to the top of my inbox, I would make the time to really have a discussion with them. So don't be afraid to reach out after a week or two has passed and using other methods. If you're struggling to find people's direct email addresses, there's a lot of good Chrome extensions out there that'll help you find that off their LinkedIn profile and whatnot. I know one I used back when I was a student was called Scrap, SKRAPP. Highly recommend it since it'll help you get in contact with more professionals. Now, to really tie everything off, I wanted to level set expectations for what you should expect from networking. It isn't really a silver bullet that'll get you any job, which I feel like a lot of people act like it is. At the end of the day, you should go in with the expectation that you're there to learn, and anything else on top of that is really just the icing on the cake. Occasionally, you'll get a job offer out of these things, but really what I consider to be a successful outcome for a long-term networking is getting a resume push and getting an actual interview with a company that I'm interested in. You should look at networking more as gardening as opposed to hunting. Too many undergrads treat it like hunting, where they're out here to find the one alumni or the one professional who's willing to give them a shot and get them a job. But at the end of the day, that's just a really transactional relationship, and I wouldn't call it genuine the slightest. When you're interacting with these alumni, it should be more like gardening, where you're looking to foster a longer term relationship, and should the opportunity to work at their company arise, or you see that there's an open position, if you fostered a genuine relationship with them and they think that you'd be a good fit for the role, you shouldn't have any issues getting a resume push there. So in summary, try to be genuine when contacting these professionals, but also be polished when you're talking to them, and really go in with realistic expectations of outcomes. At the end of the day, you should be there to learn. And I'll repeat the quote once again, because I really do think that this is what you guys should walk away from this with, is that if you ask for a job, you're only going to get advice. And if you ask for advice, you're only getting a job on these calls. So I'm happy to answer any questions as they come up in the Q&A portion, but that's about all I had prepared. So also happy to pass it back to you, Amanda.
Great. Thank you so much. That was a great overview. And I love the idea of highlighting transactional networking versus like a genuine relationship. And I think it's hard when you're first starting out and you're really just trying to find a job, but keeping that mindset of a gardener. I love that analogy. So thank you so much, Brian. All right. So now I'm going to actually, we've highlighted all these wonderful resources that are available to you as UCLA alumni. I did want to take this opportunity to share with you a resource that will be available to the class of 2022, and that is our virtual career prep program, Job Ready. This is going to be available to you all as kind of just a gift to help you transition from that the identity of student to professional. And so it's just really this very similar to an online course, but it really walks you from start to finish of how to successfully find a job and go about that. And not really just find a job that really is a good fit for you. So you'll see the first module here is about taking inventory. So when you are looking for a job, it's really important that you start with this foundation of knowing what your skills, your interests are, and then knowing your values too. You might hear of friends or people you know who are in jobs that maybe they don't like. And a lot of times that's because they took a job that doesn't align with what they value. So we do have the Self-Awareness Workbook that we want you to start off with. It's a really great tool, not only for giving you that foundation, but also it will help you when you go to build your resume, cover letter, and when you're in the interview, be more clear and accurate when you're describing some of your background and your interests. And then we have a section all about networking, which we've kind of covered today, but there's just so many different ways to network. And so this section highlights all those different avenues you can go. We talked about UCLA One today, but there's also, of course, LinkedIn. If you're not on LinkedIn yet, please do get on there. We have a webinar here on LinkedIn. And then we have this workbook on informational interviews. And I know Brian was kind of talking about those conversations. That's what, if you ever heard about informational interviews, that's kind of more of an approach of doing one-on-one meetings with professionals to learn more about their background and how they got into their career. This workbook really takes you from how to find people all the way to after you interview them, like how do you keep that relationship going and keep connected. So, you know, we have sample questions, everything. So that is making the connection. And of course, we have a section on resumes and cover letters. Specifically, I want to point out applicant tracking system. So if you have been applying or know friends who have applied, and sometimes people say, I feel like my resume is going into a black hole. Well, that might be the applicant tracking system. So anytime you apply to a job, it goes through this system that tries to identify keywords. And so this webinar here is all about how to customize your resume and cover letter so it gets through these applicant tracking systems, but not only through the systems, then also is appealing to a hiring manager's eye. And so that's a tricky thing to balance here. And we have an expert who will walk you through how to build out those resumes and cover letters so it doesn't go to the black hole. Of course, now we move on to interviewing. So we have a whole section about with an interview prep workbook that will help you once you do land an interview, just do all the homework you need to do to feel confident. That's really the trick with being successful in interviews, is really doing all the homework and preparation prior to your interview. And here are all the resources you really need to really set you up for success. We have, you know, a bank of questions, so you can practice with that. Also have questions that you should ask during an interview. They are interviewing you, of course, but you want to make sure this is right for you. So what are some questions that you should ask that will give you the information you need to assess if this is right for you? And then handling after an interview, what's kind of the etiquette after interviews? And of course, we have a webinar on virtual interviews. Most interviews nowadays do have some kind of virtual element to it. So we do have a webinar on that. And then the exciting part, you get the job offer, right? Well, what do you do? So we have a whole section on how to evaluate an offer, negotiating. You don't want to leave any money on the table. So we have a whole section on that and how to, do that dance. And then making the decision. You don't want to just accept a job just because you got the first offer you get, you accept. You want to make sure that this is the right decision for you. So we have some material on that and how to assess an offer and make sure that this is the right decision for you. And then the exciting part, you're actually starting your first job out of college. Okay, how do you set yourself up for success? We have a 30, 60, and 90-day plan that will really help you be able to better communicate with your supervisor, make sure that you're on the same page and that you're setting up goals and you're really starting off a job and with a clear idea of what the target is, and you're really setting yourself up for success. So that is job ready, and we are putting in the link. I believe it's in the link, or the chat is in the link on how to sign up for that, and that is available to all of class of 2022. So tell your friends. We definitely want the word to get out there because it is a valuable resource to help you transition from this identity of student to professional. And we have kind of a wide variety of wherever you're at, even if your friends or yourself have a job, there is some of the resources with the 30, 60, and 90-day plan. So please do check that out. And so with that, I'm going to open it up for Q&A, and I'd like to welcome all of our presenters back to the screen so we can just make sure we have answered all of our questions that we have there. All right, welcome back, everyone. I would like to start off with Vivian. I know that you obviously covered UCLA One, but there's LinkedIn, so that's a great networking platform as well. Can you kind of talk to us about when should I go to UCLA One for connecting, and when should I use LinkedIn for connecting?
Yeah, of course. We'll definitely be using both. Since you have UCLA One at your disposal, I highly recommend using that tool as much as you can. But of course, LinkedIn is like a much bigger platform since anyone can use it. And so I would say that the main, well, not the main difference, but a big difference is that on LinkedIn, you can find so many more kinds of people, but on UCLA One, you already kind of have that like almost warm connection already. Since you're both Bruins, you can pretty much reach out to anyone with that kind of common thread, as Brian had mentioned before. And so maybe the main difference would be if you're looking for people kind of outside of the Bruin network, and you want to maybe reach out to maybe a more wide variety of people, then I would use LinkedIn. But if you kind of already know what you're looking for and you want to find someone who you have something in common with, then go with UCLA One. You'll be able to find people who are already labeled as willing to help, so you don't even have to kind of have that anxiety of not knowing if people want to respond to your message, or if they are willing to kind of engage with you and help you grow. They'll already like have disclosed that on the platform, so that makes it a little bit easier for you to reach out to them. So that's kind of what I would say the main differences are.
Right. Okay, and then with LinkedIn, are there any kind of groups that you recommend, or that are like alumni associated or anything?
Oh yeah, there are plenty, but one in particular that I can think of is the UCLA Alumni group. And I'll put the link for that in the chat right now. But that group is a really good resource, very similar to UCLA One. It's full of UCLA alumni that are willing to help you. And since it's on LinkedIn, then you might be able to connect with other people in those networks as well. And so I highly recommend the UCLA Alumni group.
Okay, great, thank you. Corey, so you gave all these great resources, and there's so many different networks and opportunities. So what, how do I get involved? Like what are the tips? Where should I start?
I think one of the best ways to start out is by attending an event, and all of our alumni networks host events both virtually and in person. So if you're looking for something to attend like right after a class or after work, you can attend virtually. And then we also have events in person, many of them at the Alumni Center, to find a way to get involved. And I'll repeat the link in the chat for our upcoming events calendar. There are so many events, almost an event every single day that you can find on our events calendar.
And so I guess, I think of networks kind of as a social thing, but can you share with me how maybe being involved with the network has helped either yourself or a friend professionally? How does that?
Yeah, sure. I actually have a pretty good example for myself. Prior to working at UCLA, I was working downtown in LA for Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs, and I went to a Latino alumni event for the first time. I had never attended an alumni event, and I got to meet a lot of different alumni who were also working in the same industry as me. And I was able to meet the UCLA Alumni Diversity Programs team there as well. And that's actually how I got connected with them prior to joining their team a few months later. So just attending an event, you never really know who you're going to meet, and you can make really great connections that way.
Right. Well, that's a great example. All right. And now, Brian, you gave us all these tips on how to, build these authentic relationships. But I'm thinking, and then you also gave the gardening analogy. I'm kind of trying to get our class of 2022 kind of help them set some goals. So what is your advice for someone who is, this is maybe their last quarter and they're on the job hunt? What's like a realistic goal that they can set for building, reaching out to people between now and graduation? What would be like kind of a realistic?
Yeah, that's a great question, especially because once the timeline gets tight, I know it gets tougher. And I felt that fire beneath my feet when I was recruiting as a transfer student, given the limited time frame. My advice is really just hit the pavement. It's better to start. If I were to set goals, it would be set some number of professionals to contact and try to hit that every week or so. That's the way I looked at it, because at the end of the day, it is a numbers game, as is a lot of job hunting and whatnot. There's a lot of random chance to these things. And when encountering random chance in life, I find the best thing to do is just keep rolling the dice, since eventually they'll land in your favor. So definitely make it a goal to contact as many as you can realistically, without sacrificing quality, of course. So don't just go around copy pasting, but at the end of the day, that is the one lever that you can control beyond submitting job applications, is contacting people. And yeah, so that's my advice.
Right. And then kind of going off of like being persistent. I know you had mentioned like it's okay to, if you haven't heard back, maybe in a few weeks, to send another a little reminder kind of thing. What is your advice in terms of mindset? Because I hear a lot from students like, oh, I never heard back and I feel uncomfortable reaching out. It's kind of what mindset should one have when they are networking and maybe not hearing so much, or when they're approaching it, what's the mindset they should have?
It's a tough one, because I know it can be discouraging. I know getting the ever infamous "we regret to inform you" emails, or even the lack of email, is enough to weigh on one's mind, especially when networking and you tailor something really that's quite personal in your outreach to someone, and just getting no response can be pretty discouraging too. But one thing to keep in mind really is that this is like throwing darts at the dartboard and seeing what sticks at the end of the day. So even me, someone who has worked across industry for a while, I think when I was doing outreach, I'm one of those nerds who likes to log everything in a spreadsheet. I think I only had like a 15% hit rate with initial responses to my emails. So that means for every 100 I'd send out, only 15 would get back to me. And those sorts of rates aren't abnormal. So go in with the expectation of most of these aren't going to hit, but hell, if you only get one that hits, all it takes is one to work out for everything to go your way. So it's really it could feel like you're running blindly at times, like, oh my God, nothing's hitting for the longest time. But you just have to keep at it. And that's why you tend to see a lot of professionals stress the importance of grit when it comes to getting into very competitive roles and things like that, because you have to be willing to continue banging your head against the metaphorical wall until you find success. So that's kind of the mindset you need to adapt going into this. It's not a nice one. It's not easy, I know, but it's probably my best advice in that realm.
Right. And, and thank you for sharing like what your numbers were, because you tracked it all, just to give people a realistic idea of like, yeah, not everyone's going to respond, and that's okay. And like you said, it just takes one. So,
yep.
And then on that, kind of building off of that and building authentic relationships, do you have any tips for how to, after making a connection with someone, like what are ways that you stay connected with your networks? It's one thing to make the connection, but then it's like, how do you keep fostering it? Because that does take a lot of work.
That is a really great question. And it's something I struggled with a lot as a student. My answer to that is really keep these people in mind and find excuses to talk to them at times. So here's an example. For the longest time, I've been in touch with this guy who does a similar job at a different company. And this was before I worked in this job, but every time I saw that, hey, they completed a new deal, they acquired another company, I shoot a message and say, congratulations on that. Hope it went well and they didn't work you too hard on that one. Or if I see a piece of news that's relevant to them, I'd send it their way and would say, hey, what are your thoughts on this? Basically any sort of news or updates that I think are relevant to them, be it in the broader world, their specific company, or even in my life, if it felt like they're invested in that journey too, I'd send their way, and it gives an excuse to re-engage in a dialogue. At the end of the day, it's like chatting with an old friend. You usually just need one thing to really reinitiate that conversation.
Great. All right. Great advice. Thank you so much. All right. Well, I want to thank all of our presenters today and for highlighting all the resources that are available to our soon-to-be alumni. So thank you for being here. Thanks for the audience for being here. And I really just want to take this opportunity to congratulate you all on this amazing achievement. Please know, as I said at the top of our session, you know, a Bruin can be alongside you for the rest of your life. So just know that, and we are here for you and cheering for you. And congratulations, class of 2022, and go Bruins.